Jeep says that it invented the mid-size SUV segment when it introduced the Cherokee back in 1984, but now there's an all-new model here and it's got a fair bit of competition on its hands. As well as all the mainstream competition like the Nissan Qashqai and Volkswagen Tiguan, Jeep has priced the Cherokee from £25,000, so it's expecting it to go up against proper premium SUVs too. That puts the BMW X3 and Audi Q5 in its sights, and while it may not have the same badge appeal, the Cherokee has got some pretty brave styling. Jeep is promising us that it's made big improvements to the cabin quality too, so if you're stepping out of an Audi, you won't be disappointed. So because this is a pretty new car, we haven't really seen much of the interior yet, so I thought I'd talk you through it. And you do get quite a few nice chunky switches. It does feel quite Jeepy, and the quality is pretty good. This one is a top spec limited car, so you get this soft touch dashboard here with a nice bit of contrast stitching. There's a big 8.4 inch colour touchscreen in the middle. There's a 7-inch colour screen in the instrument cluster. But while all that's quite nice and quite luxurious and high tech, you do find that certain materials, like this surround for the gear lever here, looks a bit kind of early 90s, a bit cheap and tacky. And this low down plastic here, again, pretty scratchy, pretty hard, and that's the same in this centre part here as well. But at least you do get quite a lot of equipment, so the mid-spec longitude models, they get cruise control, dual zone climate control, power windows, rear parking sensors. And then if you upgrade to this limited one, then you get all that fancy stuff I mentioned earlier, plus you get a reversing camera as well. So it's pretty well equipped, and that's good considering it's going to have a bit of a premium price tag. Because it's a Jeep, this new Cherokee has to be the best in its class off-road, but the engineers told us they've worked hard on-road dynamics too. After all, that's where it will mostly be used. For serious off-roaders, there's a Trailhawk version with better approach and departure angles, a proper locking rear diff and a low ratio gearbox. So if you don't buy a Trailhawk, then you basically can choose from two-wheel drive or two slightly less capable four-wheel drive systems. But whichever one you go for, in all likelihood, you'll probably have bought the 2-litre diesel. That's the engine that most people are going to go for. It's available with 170 horsepower or 140. We've got the more powerful one here, and it's mated up to, as standard in the more powerful engine, a 9-speed automatic gearbox. And it's okay. The gearbox works really well, and the engine has enough torque. You get 0 to 62 in just over 10 seconds. You get nice smooth shifts from the gearbox. But the engine itself, there's some issues with the refinement. I mean, it's okay when you're just cruising around like now, but if you do ever want to try and use all that performance and the gearbox kicks down a couple of gears, then it does sound quite rough towards the top of the rev range. The ride is actually pretty good. It's nice and soft. It kind of feels smooth over these bumpy roads. But then when it comes to the handling, you get steering which is kind of nicely weighted. It has a bit of heft to it, which you kind of want from a Jeep, but there's not all that much involvement. It kind of feels really numb, and the body rolls a bit, it leans a bit in the corners. So in terms of this being a fun to drive kind of performance-y SUV, it doesn't really do that. It doesn't feel that brief. So what we've got here is a Jeep SUV that's really capable off-road, pretty good on-road. It's got a high-tech cabin, and Euro NCAP named it the safest car in its class last year. That's a pretty long and impressive list of talents, but then the Cherokee goes up against some seriously talented rivals. The good news is that it's no longer as far adrift from those rivals as it previously has been. It's not best in class, but it is at least an unusual alternative to the Qashqais and Tiguans. And that's something we haven't been able to say about a Cherokee for quite a long time. Click on the video windows to watch our reviews of the Range Rover Evoque and Porsche Macan. Click on the red play icon to watch our very latest video, and Auto Express logo to subscribe to our channel.